I am 28. Work as a software developer for a mid-sized tech company. Good salary, stable life, nice apartment downtown. Married my wife Sarah 3 years ago after dating for 2. She is 26. Works in marketing. Absolutely gorgeous. The kind of woman who turns heads when she walks into a room. I always felt lucky to be with her. Until recently, our life was pretty routine but comfortable. We order takeout, binge Netflix, go to the occasional concert or dinner with friends. Sarah seemed happy enough, though she was always the more reserved type. Not cold, just contained. I figured that's just how some people are. About 4 months ago, things started changing. Sarah suddenly became obsessed with connecting with nature. She bought hiking boots, an expensive backpack, started reading books about wilderness survival. At first I thought it was just a phase, maybe work stress or something. She always been a city girl, never showed interest in outdoors stuff before. Then the weekend trips started. I need to decompress, she say, packing her new gear. The city is suffocating me. She leave Friday evening and come back Sunday night, looking refreshed but somehow different. Distant. When I asked about her trips, she give vague answers. Just walked some trails, or found a beautiful clearing. I offered to come with her multiple times. She always had excuses. You wouldn't enjoy it, or I need this time alone. Fair enough, I thought. Everyone needs space. But then came the phone thing. Sarah used to be glued to her phone like everyone else. Suddenly, she leave it behind on these trips. No signal anyway, she shrug. When I pointed out she could use GPS or emergency services, she just say she wanted to truly disconnect. The woman who used to text me throughout the day was becoming a stranger. Last weekend, she came back with dirt under her fingernails and what looked like a small scratch on her neck. When I asked about it, she said she gotten caught on a branch. Something in her eyes when she said it made my stomach drop. That's when I knew something was very, very wrong. The responses to my last post hit hard. Some of you called it like you saw it, she's cheating. Bro, while others suggested couples therapy or that maybe she really did just need space. I wanted to believe the latter, but deep down, I think I already knew. The next few weeks were torture. Sarah kept up her weekend forest routine, but now I was hyper-aware of every detail. She shower immediately when she got home. Not unusual after hiking, right? But she wash her clothes separately, sometimes throwing them straight in the washer before even unpacking. She started buying different clothes too. More rugged stuff, flannel shirts, sturdy jeans, boots that looked like they could handle serious terrain. When I complimented a new flannel, she just shrugged and said it was practical. The worst part was how she looked at me. There was this expression I catch sometimes, like she was seeing me for the first time and finding me lacking. When I suggest we do something together, watch a movie, go out for dinner, she agree but seemed distracted. Like she was just going through the motions. Our physical relationship changed too. We went from having sex 2 to 3 times a week to maybe once every 2 weeks. When we did, she seemed elsewhere. I started wondering if she was thinking about someone else. Then came the night that broke something in me. I woke up around 2 a.m. and she wasn't in bed. Found her on the couch, staring out the window with this weird smile on her face. When I asked what she was doing, she said she couldn't sleep and was thinking about the trees. Thinking about the trees. Who says that? I made a decision that night that I am not proud of. I was going to follow her on her next trip. I know it's a violation of privacy. I know it makes me that guy, but I couldn't live with the uncertainty anymore. Friday came. Sarah packed her usual gear, kissed me goodbye, a quick peck that felt like an obligation, and headed out. I waited 30 minutes, then got in my car. This is where it gets really messed up. I can't believe I am writing this. My hands are still shaking. Following her was harder than I thought. Sarah drove about an hour outside the city to a state forest I never heard of. I had to stay way back to avoid being spotted. Almost lost her twice. She parked at a trailhead that looked barely used. Just a small dirt lot with maybe 3 other cars. I waited until she disappeared into the trees, then parked and followed on foot. Thank God I'd worn dark clothes and decent shoes. The trail was narrow, winding through thick pine forest. I could hear her ahead of me, boots crunching on fallen needles and twigs. After about 20 minutes of hiking, the trail split. I panicked for a second because I couldn't hear her anymore, but then I caught a glimpse of her red backpack going left. The left path was even narrower, more overgrown. Definitely not a maintained trail. This is where my heart started really pounding. Sarah was moving with purpose, like she'd been down this path many times before. She wasn't exploring or wandering. She knew exactly where she was going. I followed for another 15 minutes until I heard voices. I crept closer, staying behind trees, and that's when I saw it. There was a small clearing with what looked like a primitive campsite. A tarp stretched between trees, a fire pit, some basic supplies. And there was a man. He was nothing like me. Probably mid-30s, tall, broad shoulders, full beard. Wearing worn jeans and a flannel shirt. Looked like he lived out here. He was splitting wood with an axe when Sarah emerged from the trees. What happened next? I can't get it out of my head. She ran to him. Actually ran. Dropped her backpack and threw herself into his arms like they were in some damn movie. He spun her around and they kissed. Not a peck, but the kind of deep, passionate kiss I hadn't gotten from her in months. They were laughing, touching each other's faces, completely absorbed in each other. Sarah looked more alive than I'd seen her in years. Her whole body language was different, animated, free, happy in a way that made me realize how miserable she must have been at home. With me, I watched for maybe 10 minutes, feeling sick. They talked quietly by the fire, Sarah sitting between his legs while he played with her hair. At one point she said something that made him laugh, and the sound carried across the clearing. Deep, genuine laughter. When they started undressing each other, I couldn't watch anymore. I stumbled back through the forest, got to my car, and drove home in a daze. Sat in our apartment for hours, staring at our wedding photos, waiting for her to come back and lie to my face again. She got home Sunday evening looking exactly like she always did after her nature retreats, refreshed, glowing, satisfied. How was your weekend? I asked. Peaceful, she said. Really needed that. The week after I discovered them was the longest of my life. I kept replaying that scene in the clearing. How happy she looked, how natural they seemed together. Meanwhile, I had to sit across from Sarah at dinner, watch her brush her teeth, sleep next to her knowing where she'd rather be. I became obsessed with details I'd missed before. She started using a different shampoo, something that smelled like pine and mint instead of her usual vanilla stuff. She had calluses on her hands now, rough patches that hadn't been there before. When I mentioned them, she said it was from learning to build better fires. Learning from who? Sarah. Work became impossible. I'd stare at my computer screen for hours, accomplishing nothing. My manager asked if I was okay. I told him I was dealing with some personal stuff, which was the understatement of the century. I researched the guy obsessively. Spent hours on social media, property records, anything I could find. His name is Marcus Reed, 34, used to work for the Forestry Service before going off-grid about 5 years ago. He has some kind of hunting cabin registered to him about 2 miles from where I saw them. Lives completely off the land, apparently. The more I learned, the more I understood Sarah's attraction. Marcus was everything I wasn't, rugged, self-sufficient, connected to nature. I debug code for a living. He hunts his own food. I order DoorDash when I can decide what to eat. But here's what really messed with my head. I started to see myself through Sarah's eyes. Pale from spending all day indoors. Soft hands that have never built anything more challenging than IKEA furniture. My biggest physical challenge is walking up the subway stairs without getting winded. I am not saying she was right to cheat, but I began to understand why she did. Thursday night, I made a decision. I couldn't keep living this lie. I had to confront him first, before talking to Sarah. I needed to look this man in the eye and understand what he had that I didn't. Maybe it was stupid masculine pride, but I had to do it. Friday morning, I called in sick to work. I drove back to that same trailhead, but this time I wasn't following anyone. I was going to find Marcus Reed and have it out with him. The hike to his actual camp took me 2 hours. I got lost 3 times, tore my jacket on branches, and nearly twisted my ankle. By the time I found the place, I was sweating, scratched up, and completely out of my element. He was there, sitting by a larger fire pit, cleaning what looked like a rabbit. He looked up when I crashed through the underbrush, like some city idiot, and just watched me catch my breath. "You must be the husband," he said calmly. The fact that he knew who I was somehow made everything worse. "You must be the husband." Those 5 words hit me like a punch to the gut. He said it without malice, just matter of fact, like he'd been expecting me. I stood there panting, probably looking ridiculous in my torn jacket and muddy sneakers, trying to figure out what to say. All the angry speeches I rehearsed in my head suddenly seemed stupid. "Sarah told you about me," I finally managed. Marcus nodded, setting down his knife. "She talks about you sometimes." He gestured to a log near the fire. "Sit down. You look like you about to fall over." This wasn't how I imagined this going. I expected hostility, maybe a fight. Instead, he offered me water from a metal canteen and waited while I caught my breath. "I know why you here," he said. "And I know what you saw last weekend. Then you know I should probably punch you in the face." He almost smiled at that. "You could try, but that won't solve anything, will it?" I hated how reasonable he sounded. I wanted him to be an asshole, someone I could easily hate. Instead, he seemed decent, which somehow made everything worse. "How long?" I asked. 3 months, give or take. He poked at the fire with a stick. "She was hiking alone first time I saw her. Got turned around on the trails, ended up near my camp. I helped her find her way back." "And then what? You seduced her?" "No." His voice was quiet but firm. "She kept coming back, week after week. We talked by the fire. I show her how to read the forest, track animals, build proper shelters. She was hungry for it, for this life. She was hungry for you. Maybe, but not at first." He looked directly at me then. "At first, she was just hungry to feel alive." That hit harder than any insult could have, because I knew it was true. "She's miserable with you," he continued. "Not because you a bad man. She's told me you kind, stable, providing. But she's suffocating in that life. In your life. So you helped her cheat on me." I helped her remember who she is. He was still calm, which made me want to scream. "When she's here, she's not pretending to be someone else. She hunts, she builds fires, she sleeps under stars. She's free. She's married to me. She is. And she's been dying a little more each day because of it." I wanted to argue, to defend our marriage, but the words wouldn't come. Because deep down, I seen it too. The way she grown distant, restless, hollow. "What do you want from her?" I asked. Marcus was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was softer. "I want her to be happy. If that means staying with you, then that's what she should do. But if it means leaving, you take her away from everything she knows. I give her everything she needs." We sat in silence, the fire crackling between us. I realized I come here expecting to hate this man, but instead I was starting to understand him. And worse, I was starting to see why Sarah had chosen him. I drove home from Marcus's camp in complete silence. No music, no podcasts, just the sound of my own thoughts tearing me apart. I kept replaying his words. "She's been dying a little more each day because of it." Sarah was already home when I got there, making dinner like nothing had happened. She looked up when I walked in, took in my muddy clothes and scratched face. "Rough day at work?" she asked, but something in her eyes told me she already knew. "I went to see him," I said. "No point in dancing around it anymore." Sarah froze, the wooden spoon halfway to her mouth for tasting. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she slowly set it down and turned off the stove. "Okay," she said quietly. "We should talk." We sat on opposite ends of our couch. The same couch where I found her staring out the window, thinking about trees. The distance between us felt like miles. "How long have you known?" she asked. "I followed you last weekend. Saw you with him." Sarah closed her eyes and took a shaky breath. "I never wanted you to find out like that. But you wanted me to find out eventually?" I don't know. Maybe. They've been living in two different worlds for months, and I couldn't figure out how to bridge them. So you chose to lie to me instead. Yes. Her honesty was somehow worse than if she made excuses. "I am sorry for that. I am sorry for the lying, the sneaking around. You didn't deserve that. But not sorry for cheating on me." Sarah looked directly at me then, and I saw something I hadn't seen in months, real emotion. Pain, guilt, but also something else. Relief. "No," she said. "I am not sorry for finding Marcus. I am not sorry for discovering who I really am." "And who is that exactly? Because the woman I married wouldn't have done this. The woman you married was slowly disappearing." Her voice cracked. "Do you know what it's like to feel like you suffocating in your own life? To wake up every day feeling like you wearing someone else's skin?" I wanted to argue, but I remembered Marcus's words about her being hungry to feel alive. "I tried to make it work," she continued. "I tried to be happy with our routine, our safe little life. But I was withering away, and you didn't even notice. That's not fair. I noticed you were distant, but you wouldn't talk to me about it. Because I didn't understand it myself until I met Marcus." Her face softened when she said his name. "He showed me what it feels like to be truly present, truly alive. When I am with him, I am not pretending to be content with ordering takeout and watching Netflix. I am building fires, tracking deer, sleeping under stars. I am me. The real you hunts animals and sleeps on the ground. The real me isn't afraid of getting dirty. The real me doesn't need constant entertainment and comfort. The real me is strong and capable and wild." She paused. "The real me is someone you never knew, because I buried her so deep trying to be the wife you wanted." Our conversation lasted until 3 a.m. We talked about everything. When she first started feeling trapped, how she tried to convince herself she was happy, the guilt she felt about lying to me. By the end, we were both crying. "I don't want to hurt you anymore," she said. "You a good man. You deserve someone who can be happy in the life you want to build. And you deserve to be with someone who understands who you really are." It was the most honest conversation we had in years. Maybe ever. The divorce was surprisingly amicable. Sarah moved out within 2 weeks, took only what she needed. She left behind most of her old clothes, her expensive skincare products, even some jewelry I'd given her. "That's not who I am anymore," she said simply. She moved in with Marcus officially about a month later. I heard through mutual friends that she quit her marketing job and was working part-time at a local outdoor gear shop. The rest of the time, she was learning to live off the land. People expected me to be bitter, to trash talk her, to play the victim. But honestly, after that final conversation, I understood. We'd been two people trying to force a life that didn't fit either of us. Here's the part that will probably surprise you. I started hiking. Not to win her back or prove anything. But her words about feeling alive, about being present in nature, they stuck with me. I bought proper boots, joined a hiking group, started spending weekends on trails instead of in front of screens. And you know what? I get it now. There's something about being in the wilderness that strips away all the bullshit. No notifications, no deadlines, just you and the world as it actually is. I am not about to quit my job and live in a cabin. That's not who I am. But I understand now what Sarah was searching for. The person I am becoming. Someone who can appreciate both technology and nature, both civilization and wilderness. Maybe that person could have made her happy. But probably not. Some people are just meant for different worlds. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Sarah at a trail supply store. She looked incredible. Tanned, strong, wearing clothes that actually fit who she was. She introduced me to Marcus, who was more polite than I deserved. "How are you doing?" she asked, and I could tell she genuinely cared about the answer. "Better," I said. "Different, but better." She smiled. The first real smile I'd seen from her in years. "I am glad." As they walked away, I heard Marcus tell her, "He seems like a decent guy." "He is," she replied. "We just weren't right for each other." And you know what? She was absolutely right. Update 1 year later. I met someone. Her name is Lisa. She's a software engineer like me. Loves hiking but also appreciates a good Netflix binge. We're taking it slow, but she feels like home in a way Sarah never did. Sometimes the right person is someone who fits your world, not someone who makes you want to abandon it entirely. Sarah and Marcus are still together. Last I heard, they were building a permanent cabin on his land. She seems happy. We all ended up where we belonged. The end. Thank you all for watching this story. Please subscribe to the channel. Videos are released every day.